Good evening, everyone. I guess my first order of business, do we have Councillor Braithwaite on the line?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Welcome, Councillor Braithwaite. Good evening. My name is Kevin Murdoch. I'm a councillor in Oak Bay, currently acting mayor, and I'll be chairing the meeting tonight as Mayor Jensen is out of town. We may notice that we're a little light on councillors this evening, so we have three of us here. Councillor Zelka is ill, and Councillor Braithwaite, who is traveling at the moment, has volunteered to call in during her travels, so you may hear some road noise in the background as she's talking. But we are cobbled together here today to get through our agenda. So first, I just need to acknowledge that the lands were gathered as the traditional territories of the Coast and Strait Salish peoples. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen-speaking people, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and that their connections continue to these lands to this day. I also want to point out that these proceedings will be televised. They're web streamed live and then archived for later purposes. First order on the agenda is to amend our agenda. We have a couple of new correspondence pieces and a new item regarding derelict boats. Could I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Move to amend.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion, Councillor Braithwaite?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. We then have the minutes of July 10th.
Move approval.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Braithwaite, any comments or changes?
No discussion. I'm in favor.
Okay, I'll call the question. I'll count you in favor. All those in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. And the item number 3 is my remarks. Just in the interest of time, I'll try and keep them brief. We have 1 hour to get through 15 items, so that's my math, 4 minutes an item, so we'll try and do it reasonably quickly. First off, just want to thank the Capital Region Naturehood and Urban Sanctuaries project that Councillor Kirby and Councillor Zelka and myself had an opportunity to attend, along with one of our staff, Chris Hidley. It was spoken to very passionately by Jacques Sirois and hosted by the Honourable Lieutenant Governor Judith Goujon. Guichon, thank you. The French speakers in the room. Also want to just congratulate the Business Improvement Association for an excellent night market last Wednesday, very, very well attended. Also, the Saturday had a painted piano tour, which was attended quite well by people, and quite fascinating to see the mixture of both the visual arts and the performing arts, and all the people enjoying those pianos out in the community. We have our next concert in the park is this coming coming Thursday, July 20th. It's Bijou de Bayou with Adam Bay. And this is our last meeting before our summer break, so we're meeting here again on September the 11th. I just want to point out as well, if there's some confusion following this in the agenda packages, we are going to try and get through all of our council meeting before the Committee of the Whole, but we will be adjourning this at 6:59 to attend the Committee of the Whole, which starts at 7, and any uncompleted items, I'm hoping there are none, but if there are, we'll be reconvening council afterwards. We will be reconvening council in any case, just to address some of the issues raised at the Committee of the Whole. Those are my comments. This is our time now for public participation period, so we allocate in our procedures bylaws some opportunity for people from the public to address anything related to council or to Oak Bay. However, I just want to clarify, if there's items on the Committee of the Whole starting at 7, then I would ask that you wait and hold your comments then. We do allow for public participation on all those items. But for any other items on this agenda or just things of interest to Oak Bay, you're more than welcome to come forward. And I see someone coming forward. So is there anybody coming forward? There is. Okay, so the procedure here, if you don't mind, is just write your name so we have your spelling correct when you come up. And you have 3 minutes to address council. And we have a total of 20 minutes allocated for this portion of the agenda. Welcome.
Thank you. 3 minutes. My name is Doug Manders, and my wife Joan and I own the house immediately to the north of the Quest development, proposed Quest development. And I have a bit of legal background, and I have been reading quite a bit about the OCP, and I could talk for a long time, so you're very lucky you've got me on a 3-minute clock. There's one thing, a couple of things came up at the last APC meeting, And one of them is just for someone else that asked me if I was going to talk tonight and asked if I'd mention it. And that's, they talked a little bit about shadowing. And they did mention that my house would have at least a few days in July when the sun wouldn't be shadowed. But they didn't mention much about the people in York House. And then the people on the Quest side of York House, they only get the afternoon sun. And this building would be 13 feet higher than their building and longer on both ends. And they would get very, very little sunlight, direct sunlight all year round. And they just wanted me to mention that because it was downplayed at that meeting. It wasn't really mentioned much, and they're concerned about it. I was going to talk about one of my pet things on the OCP, but I'm looking at the clock here. I hardly have time to get started. But very, very briefly, I will just keep it down to I had several comments I wanted to make. I'll keep it down to one. The developer did mention that because he was building, increasing density on an arterial road and within easy walking distance of Oak Bay, that he met several policies of the OCP. Well, it is true that in the OCP, which I've had looked at very closely, there are some general statements along those lines, but when you want to interpret a legal document, you really have to drill down to the specific comments. And the OCP is not, unlike a lot of people think, looking for rapid or a lot of densification of Oak Bay. And I've got a couple of comments on that when you go down to the specifics. One is on the broad objectives. The OCP says, consider increases in density while respecting the values of Oak Bay. That's on page 11, and it's consider increases. And then on the broad policies, they encourage modest population growth, anticipating an annual growth rate of 0.5%, et cetera. Now, 0.5 is only 90 people a year, and it says up to. So you could meet the OCP requirements with presumably 30 or 40 people if you wished. And this is very targeted growth. The OCP, it's targeted towards housing that OCP needs, and the OCP is very clear on that. And that is affordable and inclusive housing. I looked all through the OCP and could find no reference to luxury condos, except sort of obliquely. Whoop. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Could you just say
Mr. Acting
your name
Mayor.
out loud as well? I don't think we
Oh,
got
it's
the
Doug Manders.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Manders. Thank you.
Shucks. I've got lots to
Just
say about
for the
this.
record, this has not yet come, this application has not yet come before council, and when it does, it will come to a committee of the whole, and that is where we will have more chance for a more fulsome
Super.
discussion.
I appreciate that, Mr. Acting Mayor. I appreciate your
Thank you.
comments. Right, bye-bye.
Next speaker?
Acting Mayor and Council. I don't have to say my name, do I?
You do. You kind of
Okay,
do. Just-
Irene Cocaine.
and
Okay.
the municipality you live in?
Yes, Oak Bay, you
you.
betcha. So I want to start out with a story. It's about a family that has an alcoholic father, and the mother has booze all over the house. Everybody comes over, they all drink in front of him. She is an enabler of his addiction. Now I'm asking counselors not to be enablers of people using personal cars. Okay, so I'm supporting car shares for the Quest. Now, if you look at the Quest development, people within it are going to share. They're going to share the entrance, the garden, the fitness studio, the elevator, the stairs, the infrared sauna. This whole building is shared. So I'm suggesting that instead of drilling down and putting 14 parking spots beneath that building, what you do is you say, perhaps we'll let you go ahead if you do 2 fabulous car shares, only for the people within that building. And they'll have to turn around and back out, or turn around and go out forward. They'll need to be also the elevator and the stairs and that sort of thing. But basically, what you're doing is something for your grandchildren and their grandchildren. You're absolutely not allowing all these other cars to be there. You're helping people to change their mind about things, okay? So I would say to you, please do not be an enabler. Do not enable those 14 cars. And actually, if you put the entrance on the southwest corner away from the tree that everybody loves, it will not be affected because the drip line of the tree is well away from the side of the property. Okay? So next time each of us reaches for a car handle to open the door to get in it, remember, car share. Remember, we need to move forward. Remember the grandchildren and their grandchildren. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please come forward. Same rigmarole, just your name and municipality, please.
Hi, I'm David Harris. I live in Oak Bay. So, acting mayor and councillors, I'd like to touch on a few topics regarding 2326 Oak Bay Avenue, the Quest project. I feel that projects should respect their site. They should be designed to enhance and conform to that context and not force the site to conform to them. I'm concerned about the hydrology at this site. It's at the bottom of a hill, and the site receives a lot of water during storms. The houses to the north don't have basements. I think that's because they were concerned about flooding. The neighbor on the Oak Bay Avenue to the east has had some problems with flooding related to them putting a new deep well for their elevator, I think. The trouble is this site, the proposal is to dig out the entire site, surround it with concrete, and basically turn it into a large impermeable bowl, which means any water coming down the hill is going to have to split at that point and go into the neighbors' properties. And I think we don't know the consequences. And I'm sure there will be a hydrology study for the site. I'm also concerned about the loss of the large Gary oak on the neighboring property to the east and the trees and plants to the north and to the west. These plants all help to stabilize the soil and to absorb groundwater. I know that the project is going to plant trees and plants on the project, but that's going to be inside their concrete wall around themselves. So they're not going to help any of the neighbors' properties by putting plants there. And so my concern is heavy rainstorms, which we do get here every 3 or 4 years, and probably worse with climate change. I feel that there's going to be problems. In conclusion, I just think the project's too big for the site. It does not respect its found environs, and it should be rejected in favor of something that suits the site more. For example, a number of townhouses, and the townhouses would promote increased density in the community without affecting the streetscape and the canopy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Is there somebody else? Thank you.
Hi, Anthony Mears, South Oak Bay. So my first, I got 2 items. My first item sort of involves my second item, but my first item is if you don't get it right in the minutes regarding what residents say, they don't have any opportunity to correct it. And I wonder what that would look like. You don't have to answer me now. I know you don't want to get involved in a discussion. You can write to me, or you can answer me now and save yourself a stamp.
An e-stamp, it's a point well taken. I can't answer the.
Okay.
Fix that point, but
so
thank you.
maybe you can figure that out, and we can maybe find that out next council meeting or whenever, whatever method you like to get that to me. Okay. Second item then is in the minutes of the 10th that you just approved. I noticed that on item 13, I believe it's item 13, that Councillor Zelka, I believe, made a motion about red tape and efficiency, and it wasn't seconded. But it was mentioned there would be a council report, and that's not in the minutes now. Maybe because one of those reductions of efficiency was that we're not going to put any discussion about resolutions, which a resolution is a council motion, in the minutes. Now, I'm not sure if that's accurate, that you can't do that, but This is an end run around that, because you're actually going to have to put it in the minutes, as there's no mention of the report in the minutes. Anyway, I think that's something that I'd like to see in writing, and I think you and I both had a problem, Acting Mayor Murdoch, about them taking the discussion out of the minutes that councillors had during one of those during the motion discussions. I think we should be not reducing information to the public. We should actually improving the amount of information that's provided. Anyway, I'd like to see that in the minutes. Well, it has to be in the minutes now, because you have to put this in the minutes. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mears. Is there anybody else here who would like to come forward and address council? I see no one. Thank you very much for your time. And we are then going to move on to item number 5, which is a special event application for road and marina occupancy related to the World Airline Road Race. I guess I will just ask staff to just give a quick summary of what this is.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an event application for occupation of the roadway and the marina for an event to be held next year on Saturday, September 29th. The proposed route includes the staging of the race at the Oak Bay Marina and a road closure from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. The route goes along Beach Drive to Midland Road and returns to the marina along that same route. Staff has had the opportunity to work with the applicant, who has agreed to amend the route based on a proposed route from our police. And in staff's estimation, we will be able to accommodate the route. They have also given us guarantees with regards to public notification, signage, and cleanup of the site.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of staff on this, or is the applicant here tonight? Okay, we'll have you talk if there's any questions for you, but Councillor Braithwaite, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Yes, actually I do. I'm just wondering if I know that the route causes Beach Drive to be closed down for the whole period, and I'm wondering if we could have just one lane of runners after the first kilometer, could then the Beach Drive access be better for the residents?
So I'll ask the applicant, I guess, to come forward and speak to that. Just please introduce yourself with your name.
My name's Marlene Kwan, and I'm the executive board of the International War Committee. It's a volunteer driven committee, and I can answer that question. Yes, we can accommodate that. It's a quick 5K, 10K, and most of the runners do it, run the race within half an hour. And then there's the walkers that will take maybe 45 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Just as a question of staff then, is that mandated as part of this approval, or is it actually just sort of a suggestion and a request at this point?
Your Worship, our Deputy Chief of Police kindly set out the route and ultimately will be in charge of finalizing the traffic management plan. This conversation has been very helpful, though, and staff would be happy to pass it back to police for confirmation.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Braithwaite, did you have any other questions?
I think just the next one was basically for the access to the marina. I'm just wondering how, if it's going to be closed, I think from 5 to 10 on Sunday morning, is there any possibility that that could be shortened? Because that's quite a busy place on a Sunday morning, I think.
I'll turn that to the applicant.
The race is Saturday morning, and we spoke with the Oak Bay Marine Group, and they're willing to work with us, and we're working with them, and we will have spots for the public that are using the marina to be able to park there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I take it from the way the motion is worded that this is essentially approving it, but there's still work to be done for these sort of details to be completed. Is that a fair?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that's accurate. We've found the applicants to be very responsive to staff comments. However, any approval would be subject to meeting certain requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion yet? I don't think we do.
I would move the recommendation.
Seconded?
We have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
All right, there we go. It's approved. Thank you very much. Next up, we have an application, or an application, but just a presentation from the Oak Bay United Church. Here we go. Please come forward. And again, just I understand this is a brief sort of information piece for us just to hear what you're thinking about moving forward with in future. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. My name's Cheryl Thomas, and I'm actually the recently minted past chair of Oak Bay United Church. Oak Bay United has been part of the Oak Bay community for more than 120 years. And the building at Granite and Mitchell has been there since 1914. In fact, we celebrated our 100th anniversary there a couple of years ago. And like many churches, we originally owned the whole block. And as time went on, they hived off a bit of property to generate income to continue to run the church. We're now at the point there's no more to hive off. And even though we're a growing, dynamic congregation, which is unusual in churches nowadays, we are able to fund the operations of what we do. But we have a 100-year-old building on the property that we can't afford to maintain. And we have a 20-year-old building, which is Threshold House, rented to the Threshold Housing Society, that needs a new roof. And we have a duplex where the offices are housed, which we also have not been able to maintain, and it's in dire shape. So we actually started looking at and going, okay, we're providing many, many services to the community, including a thrift shop, which provides furniture and that to refugee families and women in need, etc. We also have a play group for children. We have a monthly cabaret that occurs there, as well as many musical events, etc. But we can't afford the maintenance of the place that we're at. And when I took over as chair a couple years ago, I looked at the finances and said, you know what, we're going to be closing our doors in a couple of years if we don't figure out a way to be sustainable, financially sustainable, in order to maintain our presence in the community and the services we provide in the community. We actually have been approached by some developers. They want to, but when we talk to them, they want to tear down the church and build high-end condos. And we've said, no, that's not what we want to do. And we do, the congregation did spend $1.5 million. They took 14 years to raise that money and bring the building up to code for earthquake. Those of you who've been around longer may remember those times when the building was condemned. And the congregation felt very strongly about maintaining that building. It is not a heritage building, but it has been there for 100 years, and we feel quite strongly in keeping it there. When I talk to the congregation, they want to do something that will support our values, which is doing something good for the community and not just saying, well, we want to put in some high-end condos and make some money and go forward again for years to come. So we started looking at our options, and what seems to be coming to the forefront is affordable rental housing. As we look at the community, we see young folks who can't afford to leave mom and dad's basement. They can't afford to go downtown and live. We see seniors who can't afford to stay in their houses or maintain their houses, but they don't want to leave Oak Bay. And there is a need in the whole region for affordable rental housing. So we started looking at, was that financially feasible? Could we put in some properties there that were affordable rental housing? And it looks like it might be doable from a financial point of view. And we're now just at the point of where we want to talk to neighbors, talk to our congregation, and say, you know, this is our situation, this is what we need to be looking at, what is needed in the community. What are more services that need to happen here? And one of the things we want to start doing is talking to the neighbors about that. When we brought in the Threshold Housing Society, we had meetings with the neighborhood and said this is what we were going to do. We wanted to give them a heads up. And they were very, very supportive of the young adults coming in there and being supportive of them living there. And at that time, we also told them, look, we've got to do something to be sustainable. And they indicated some initial support in saying, okay, let's, you know, as long as you keep us in the loop and talk to us and we have a chance to say what's needed, come back and talk to us again, because we know you're doing some really neat things in the community. You may be aware of some of the challenges, which is we're so active that they have issues with the amount of traffic that comes and goes out of the church, and that seems to be our biggest concern with neighbors. But we wanted to let you know that we're looking at this, that we're starting conversations. We've been talking to the staff and getting some advice from them. And one of the things they advised us was, again, letting council know and say, we're going to start having conversations with neighbors. We want to make this something that is good for Oak Bay and fits within the community. And so we look forward to actually working with council to come up with something that actually means Oak Bay United Church can be sustainable and stay in the community and continue to do all the stuff we do in the community while also meeting some needs in the community. So I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Any questions of the Councillor Kirby?
I'm just curious if this would include just the parking lot or the duplex, or what parcel of land exactly where you be considering?
It's looking at the whole land, and actually beside the church there is a cinder block gymnasium that is not earthquake safe and needs to come down. The duplex is not in good shape either and probably needs to come down. So we're looking at what can fit in, and we're even at initial stages of, we don't know, you know, if people say, what are you going to build? We don't know. We just know we need to look at providing some housing and providing some services, and we don't know what it's all going to look like yet, and that's part of the conversations with the neighbors.
Yes, go ahead.
Just to comment that I appreciate the fact that you're coming right at the beginning and sharing this information with the community is the best way to start a project like that. From my experience, my limited experience on the past couple of terms here, I think that's an excellent start, and I think there's nothing that we need more than affordable housing in Oak Bay. So I applaud your efforts, and I think you mentioned community about 50 times in that presentation, then that's a very important element to this. So I really appreciate the work you're doing. That's great.
I will tell you, we've had initial conversations with BC Housing, and they're very much in support of moving ahead with something, and have given us permission to say they're in support. So they're meeting with us regularly, looking at how we can make this happen.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Braithwaite, any questions?
No, thank you. Just really happy to have this being brought forward.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you were in touch with BC Housing, so you answered my question. So
Okay.
we should have a motion just to receive the presentation.
I would move that the correspondence on behalf of the board of the Oak Bay United Church sent July 12th be received for information.
Second?
All right, any further discussion? Councillor Braithwaite?
No.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Any opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Ms.
you for your
Thomas.
time.
Yes, thank you. We're on to item number 7, which is the Girl Guides license of occupation for Bowker Hall. This is fairly straightforward, I think, but does staff want to elaborate on the report at all?
Mr. Chair, just maybe for the benefit of the audience, so since 1957, the Girl Guides have used the hall up by Bowker, by the fire hall. And so that is something that we need to regularly, every 5 years or so, renew a lease. And the purpose of this is to simply renew that lease.
Okay, thank you. And this is gives us notice of intent, and you'll go through a notification process, and this gives permission to renew the lease, assuming there's no negative feedback on that renewal, correct?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
I move the recommendation.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Councillor Braithwaite, any other discussion?
No, thank you.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
All right, everybody in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item number 8 is the is the supply and delivery of Waterworks. It's the Waterworks fittings and pipe. So we have, I guess we have Mr. Brozic is probably the one to speak to this. If you wish to speak to it again, we have a fairly straightforward split into recommendation. So I'll just ask council if there's any questions. Director Brozic or Superintendent Brozic, do you have any overview you'd like to give at this point?
I could just give a brief one. Yeah, a request for quote went out. To maximize savings, we broke the sections up into 8 separate sections and chose the best prices from those 8 separate sections, and it includes everything from copper tubing to 500 millimeter pipe.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of, yes, Councillor Kirby?
I'm just wondering what kind of pipe. Is it PVC pipe? Is that the item number 8, section 8?
Director, Superintendent Brozic?
Section 8 would be PVC pipe. That would be the pipe that we would use for our storm drain replacements. The sections 5 and 6, that would be ductile iron for our water main replacements.
It's not Chinese iron, is it?
That help?
Do we know?
Is that okay?
Do
is
we
that
know
a
where
question?
the supply is coming from?
I'll ask the question then. Do you know the source of the iron in those pipes?
I believe it's from the United States. It's founded in the United States, but the ore probably comes from Canada. That's a guess.
Okay, it would be good to know. Just we don't want to have the same issues that Victoria's faced with their supply chain. Aside from that, I have no further question.
Councillor Braithwaite?
No, I'd be happy to move the recommendation.
Seconded.
We're moved and seconded. Ms. Jones, is Councillor Braithwaite allowed to move motions remotely?
Absolutely, Your Worship. I just received a text from our Deputy Director of Financial Services, who's advised that the United States is the source of the ore by text.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Modern technology. All right. All right, we have a motion on the table. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor Braithwaite, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. We are on to item number 9, contract award for Humber Catchment. And I guess this would be Director Haran giving the update on this one.
Yes, Your Worship, just a quick update. We issued a request for proposals on June 15th, 2017, seeking engineering consulting services for detailed design of the Humber Catchment in accordance with our strategic priorities and with the Clean Water Wastewater Fund grant awarded that is funding this activity. So we're recommending that the contract be awarded to McElhaney Consulting Services Limited.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of staff on this recommendation? I'm not seeing any. Councillor Braithwaite, any questions?
No questions.
All right, can I have a motion then?
Move the staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a mover and a seconder. Any other discussion? Councillor Braithwaite, any other discussion?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
All right, thank you. Motion passes. We are now on to item number 10, which is a heritage referral for property on the Community Heritage Register and a development variance permit. Do we need a motion? We got some late correspondence on this. Should we have a motion to receive that? Can we get
Move receipt.
Seconded.
moved and seconded? All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor?
Thank you. And then just want to make clear the motions that are in front of us right now do not include the driveway variance or the variances. This is that's going to be needs to go through a process of approval by the strata still. So what's in front of council today is we have a current 60-day protection order on the property to allow this to be referred to heritage. So it would be to lift that 60-day protection order and then follow on to approve the non-variance related exterior house modifications. I guess Director Jensen or Acting Director of Building and Planning Jensen, would you like to make any other comments on this application or on this item?
Certainly. So just to clarify again, there are two motions that council could consider. One to remove the protection order and the other to consider the exterior modifications. They are proposing a number of renovations to the home that includes the removal of one of the three chimneys, replacing the upper railing over the front entry, creating a doorway to the deck in place of an existing oval window, and replacing the bay windows with 3 single windows with diamond-shaped panes at the top of the side windows. The bay windows were probably the most significant item of consideration at the Heritage Commission meeting. They did discuss a number of alternatives, and while they would prefer to retain the existing windows, they were satisfied with what the applicant has come forward with.
Thank you. Is the applicant here tonight? Thank you. We'll call you forward if we have any questions, but we'll see where council goes with this. Are there any questions of the applicant or of staff? Yes, Councillor Kirby.
I just had some questions about the windows. So that's within the purview of this particular variance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's no variance here. Just because there's a covenant on the property, we're assignee to that covenant to approve any exterior modifications. So we have to approve modifications to the exterior of the home. I think that is the correct reason that this is here. Okay, thank you. So then would the applicant or the applicant's representative come forward just to answer any questions? And I'll just ask if you could just give your name and residence, residential address or community that you live in.
Excuse me, my name is Dan Sheehan. I'm the owner of the property in question, 599 Island, and I live currently at 1101 Beach Drive.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby, you had questions?
I just, there seemed to be some concern about these bay windows, and I'm just wondering if how dramatic that alteration is, and how, having not visited the house myself, I have a hard time, through the images provided, visualizing how that's going to change the look and character of the house. If you could just clarify that a little.
One of the best elements of the home and the property is the backyard. Being the age of the home that it is, it's quite dark on the interior. Also, the ability to see from the home to the rear yard is partially blocked by the current form of the windows. The windows are also very old. They're lead glass, the diamond-shaped part of the panes. They're single pane, not energy efficient. So what we wanted to do was to upgrade the windows, replace them with something more new and more energy efficient, and also to be able to get better access and more light into the home and also more visibility to the rear. So we've had 2 meetings with Heritage at the end of, I guess, last week. Through a number of consultations with Heritage, they approved the current recommendation, which is to replace a couple of the windows with a solid pane of glass, and then to retain the character of the windows on each of the sides of the sides of the bay window.
Thank you for the clarification. That makes it a little easier
No
to
problem.
understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? Councillor Braithwaite, are there any questions?
Not from me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I can speak to the Heritage Commission, and for the second meeting back, there was three options provided by the applicant, and Heritage should have, again, stated that they preferred to keep the windows as they were, but if not, they recognized that the preferred option from the applicant of the large single pane with the leaded triangular or diamond-shaped glass at the top of the side windows, sort of in keeping with the existing, was acceptable to them as an alternative. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, given that, I'd move the recommendation to approve.
Moved.
There's two parts to it, so we need
Sorry,
to
move to lift the protection order.
Thank
and
you. Just do that one separately. Let's do them separately.
Okay.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to lift the 60-day protection order. Any further discussion? Councillor Braithwaite?
No, thank you.
All right, nothing here. I'll call the question then. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
Thank you. So that passes. We have a second portion of the thing, which is to approve the non-variance related exterior modifications.
I'd move approval as to architectural design and siding.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Braithwaite, any conversation?
No further questions.
Okay, seeing none here, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
All right, you have your bay windows. I understand the variances on the driveway and existing pergola and stuff. We're coming back here in the fall once the aspects with the strata are all dealt with. So thank you.
That's the plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sheehan. And enjoy the house. It's a spectacular house. Item number 11, we have the monthly report of active land use applications. This is really for information, but who do I turn to for this? Go to the Acting Director of Building and Planning.
Sure. So the Building and Planning Department has just been continuing to work on developing a better tracking system for the activity within our department. So we have been using our software to further refine and track the number and type of land use applications that we have. So what we're proposing to do is to bring forward quite regularly to council the different types of applications that are in front of us at the moment. So it's really a snapshot in time. It's not necessarily new applications. They could still be under review, but this way council has an idea of what's actually happening in the department. So it's both land use applications and building permit applications.
Okay, thank you very much. I took this as a look how busy we are, please stop bugging us kind of kind of report, but we'll see if there's any questions from council. Seeing heads shaking. Okay, Councillor Braithwaite, any questions of staff?
No questions.
All right, so we just need a motion to receive this then.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
Thank you very much. And yeah, just for the audience's sake, 34 active planning applications, 613 active building permits under process. So quite a lot of stuff going on in that department. Item number 12 is the Heritage Commission minutes.
Move receipt.
Moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Councillor Braithwaite?
No discussion.
All right, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
Thank you. And item number 13, I can't read my own things. We have a new agenda item here, and Mr. Jones, would you like to give a quick update?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So on May 13th, there was an excellent, I would suggest, community volunteer effort to clean up a number of derelict vessels and components thereof down in Cadborough Bay, and in fact, I think there was 4 tons of of pieces removed. And recently, staff here at the district and Your Worship as well met with representatives who are looking at perhaps building on that community effort and also talking a little bit more about longer-term opportunities. But at the time, we thought there was an opportunity to move quickly to take advantage of the initiative in the community and the volunteer effort to actually try to get rid of those boats and pieces of material that are left down in Cadborough Bay. And there are some opportunities for funding. So we were told that the CRD has contributed $4,000, that there may be funds available from the province. And so this report is recommending that the district contribute $4,000 towards that initiative that we hope will result in the removal of those vessels, those derelict vessels on the beach in Cadborough Bay.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Kirby?
I'm just I'm wondering if this is in order to pay for the cleanup that's already taken place, or to remove the vessels that we, I came and helped a little bit, but then not like the other people that were sort of dislodged in the volunteer effort.
Yeah, so there are remaining vessels,
Several,
hulls
yes.
down there, and this would hopefully result in the removal of those remaining hulls and other pieces of boats.
Okay, so that funding that had fallen through, this is to make up for that because there was some kind of anticipated funding coming from Saanich and the CRD.
I think there was hope that there would be additional funding, and that the full amount hasn't come through, and the hope now is that through the contributions of the district and the CRD and the province and private contributors, that will result in the ability to remove and dispose of all of the remaining vessels.
Great. Okay, so this is the process that was outlined that day, where they planned to have the crane come and not Ellis Recycling, but the shipyard was going to remove all that stuff once it got craned out, and I'm so relieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby.
Oh, sorry, I'll move the recommendation.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Councillor Braithwaite?
No, I'm just happy to support this.
All right, thank you very much, and yes, I hope this all gets done now. All right, with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
In favor.
Thank you very much. We do not have any new correspondence received at this time, so that's item 14. We're going to item 15, which is new business and verbal reports. Councillor Croft?
Thank you, Your Honor. While I was away, the annual general meeting of the South Vancouver Island Prosperity Project was held, and I've circulated today their annual report, both to all councillors and staff. The big thing coming out of this was that with the change in the Societies Act, they had to repeal their whole constitution and replace it with a new constitution, and they dealt with dealing with some other things at the same time. So as the representative, I was required to sign off, so I wanted to let you know that I have signed off on the resolution to allow them to move forward with the new constitution. Because of the shortness of time, I won't go into any more of this report, but if you do have questions in the future, please ask me. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Croft. Councillor Braithwaite, anything to add under any of the new business or verbal reports?
I have nothing, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, and Councillor Croft, one more thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the community know that on August 13th to 19th, there will be an Oak Bay Arts and Cultural Week sponsored by Parks and Rec and Oak Bay Tourism.
Thank you very much. That is a great series of events that week. So, all right, moving on. We have one resolution, and item number 16. This is a heritage designation of tree motion. Would someone move that to be on the table?
I will move the resolution that Parks, Recreation, Culture, and Commission be asked to provide their advice as to whether council should designate the tree at 2340 Oak Bay Avenue as a significant tree.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And I'll perhaps ask Mr. Jones, just Deputy Director or Director of Corporate Services, to if he has any other additional points on this procedurally. This would essentially refer this to Parks, Recreation, and Culture.
Your Worship, so yeah, if council were to pass this resolution, this would refer it to the Parks and Recreation and Culture Commission for consideration.
All right, and would their staff have a chance to consider that, to look at it as well then, is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Councillor Kirby.
While I understand the idea, I respect the idea that I think there's some concern about this tree. We've certainly received several, many items of email and had meetings with the neighbors and have heard significant concern about this significant tree. or what may be identified as a significant tree. I feel like this is coming too soon, that this is the cart before the horse. We haven't even received the application formally. We haven't had a committee of the whole. I don't feel like this is the time nor the mechanism to address this issue. And also the fact that it's on private property, this would set a precedence for us to be imposing designation on a homeowner. I don't think that's the right course of action. I think if the homeowner, in this case a co-op housing group, if they felt the desire to protect the tree, that they should be asking us for designation of the tree. It shouldn't be council imposing this on a homeowner. I'm concerned that with that approach, that it would be better to come from the homeowners in this case, as a means to protect the tree. And it doesn't feel like the right process. I mean, if this is an attempt to reject the proposal that's coming to committee of the whole in advance of it arriving on council's table, then I think that's trying to circumvent the process, and it's inappropriate, and the timing is awkward for me. So I can't support this.
Okay. I'm just going to ask staff, if I could, do we know the process, there are a number of designated trees in the community. Do we have an established formal process for, perhaps Mr. Heideley could answer the question in terms of what constitutes a meaningful tree and when it would get protected?
Certainly, Your Worship and fellow council members. What would constitute a tree that would be worthy of being deemed significant is if it's outstanding, if it would be a landmark tree, if it would be rare as planted in a grove, if it has historical significance, if it's planted for somebody, if it's a wildlife tree. My experience would be, that if it's a private tree, it would come forward from the actual property owner. We do have a number of trees that are municipal that are on the significant tree list, and it's easy for public trees to end up there, but there's not many public or private trees on there.
If this motion went through as worded, would there be a mandatory requirement to go speak with the owner of the tree as part of that process? Putting on a spot here, but I apologize.
That would be my understanding. I was a member of the Significant Tree Committee of Saanich, and all private trees came from the actual property owner for nomination.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Councillor Braithwaite?
Yeah, I understand what the concept behind this is and the reasons for bringing it forward. I do think I feel similar to Councillor Kirby in that I do believe that it should be the owners of that property that bring this forward. I'm quite happy to look at this as a significant tree, but I think it's better for the application to come forward from those residents rather than from Councillor Zelta or from Council, I believe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm getting Councillor Croft, do you have something to add?
Well, in that I made the motion, I'm not actually in favor of going ahead with this either. I think that it creates liability and a responsibility to us that we shouldn't be taking on when it is a private tree. And it appears to me, in looking at the bylaw 4326, that all of the trees that were on private land and were actually recognized as significant trees at one time have all been removed, and it's been reduced to a much smaller number that are primarily on public land.
Okay, thank you very much. I think of getting a sense of where this vote is going. I'll call the question then. All those in favor of the motion as listed? All those opposed? Councillor Braithwaite?
Opposed.
All right, thank you very much. The motion is defeated. I certainly would hope that if the owners of that building do see it as a significant tree, and when I've talked to the residents there, they seem to think that it would make sense for them to bring that forward, I think, as in the future. With that, we are about to adjourn to reconvene after the committee of the whole. So if I could get a motion to adjourn.
Move adjournment?
Seconded.
And Councillor Braithwaite, any comment?
No.
All right, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
In favor.
Okay, thank you very much. So just for those in the audience, we've just wrapped up our council meeting, our 6 o'clock council meeting. This has been